Hey guys, I'm Jenna, and I'm here to share my reactions and recap of my very first ever viewing of One Tree Hill Season 1. Believe it or not, I have actually never seen a single episode of One Tree Hill until about a week and a half ago when I started the series. I'm not really sure how that happened because this show was on during the prime of my high school years, and I do remember that a ton of people I know watched it. As you can imagine, as someone who creates content heavily focused on the early to mid 2000s, people are always horrified when I say that I have never seen a single episode of this absolute teen classic. I've been wanting to watch it for a really long time, but it is definitely a commitment. There are 9 seasons, and these aren't regular television network seasons. These are CW show seasons. So we're talking hour-long episodes, 23 episodes per season. That is a serious time commitment. So I finally started it. I think I started season 1 a week and a half ago. It is safe to say that I actually love it. I'm here to share some of my favorite moments, some of my general thoughts, and just my general reaction to my very first ever viewing of season 1. So obviously we have to start by talking about the fashion and the music. This show is such a great time capsule. I believe it started in 2003, and there are so many things about this show that just scream 2003. There's so many great songs, there's so many great outfits. Even just like some of the storylines just feel so early 2000s. One of the things that really stuck out to me as just like feeling very 2000s was the whole storyline of Peyton and her webcam. That's just such a 2000s thing. Like I remember in those early days of the internet, we were just baffled by things like webcams. Like the fact that that technology existed and that somebody could broadcast themselves from their house onto the internet and you could log on from anywhere and watch them. Obviously American Pie really made the webcam iconic, but just this being kind of like one of Peyton's almost character traits just feels so 2000s. It would be the modern day equivalent of one of the characters being like an Instagram influencer or a TikToker, I think. The fashion and the music really put it into the time. It's just like such a nostalgic thing to watch. And a lot of those teen dramas at the time were very over the top with their fashion. And I feel like some of the outfits are a little bit more overstyled. Some of Brooke's outfits just feel very high end. She wears a lot of juicy, she wears a lot of clothes that I remember seeing people wear, but probably not in my high school. But there is some fashion that feels super, super authentic too. Obviously there's a lot of Gavin DeGraw when it comes to the music, but there's a lot of just great pop songs also. And this is something that not every teen show at the time did. I've actually been watching Dawson's Creek a little bit too, and they don't have a lot of pop songs on that show. There's not a lot of songs that I actually remember hearing, but One Tree Hill is a completely different story. These are all songs I remember hearing on the radio. A lot of them I forgot about. And one thing that I really appreciate when it comes to the music is that they rapid fire change the songs. There's some scenes where like every minute or two it's a different song. So the music's great, fashion's great. I think my favorite character when it comes to fashion on the show is actually Haley. Obviously Brooke has some great outfits. Peyton has some great like band tees and wears a lot of leather blazers, which I kind of appreciate, but Haley's outfits feel the most authentic. She wears a lot of just like kind of plain graphic tees, which were such a huge thing at that time. We all bought our graphic tees from like American Eagle or just places like Vanity or What Seal. She wears a lot of like sheer long sleeve t-shirts or Henley style shirts or just plain t-shirts with a lace cami underneath. That was like my everyday go-to look. There was one outfit that she wore, it's like a slightly off the shoulder, kind of almost boat neck, long sleeve sheer shirt with a cami underneath it. And I had so many shirts like that. I actually remember one really specifically was like this light pink sheer, and I would wear it with a white cami under it, and you could always see my bra straps because I didn't wear it with a strapless bra. And when I saw that outfit, I was like, that was literally something that I wore in high school. Now, as we look back at that time, there are things that clearly we have picked out to be nostalgic about. One is like Juicy Couture. I mean, it's made a huge comeback, but it's also something that we remember as being of that time. And Brooke does wear a lot of Juicy, and so does Deb later in the season, but we'll get to her. But Haley has a lot of clothes that haven't necessarily been talked about a lot in this sort of nostalgia conversation. but we definitely wore. So I really, really appreciate that. There's one item that she wears that I actually still own, the exact same item. And it's also one of my favorite moments of Haley from the entire season, when she gets the tramp stamp tattoo of Nathan's basketball number. First of all, I almost died. I almost died at that scene. I was like, no girl, no. The tramp stamp was such a 2000s trend. Like, why? It's funny, I wonder if we had any idea at that time that we were gonna like deeply regret that trend, but either way, she got a tramp stamp. It's Nathan's basketball number, because clearly when you're in high school, that seems like a good idea. And there's a scene where she turns around to show Lucas the tattoo, and you can see the label on her jeans, and I have them. I have the jeans. They're Blue Cult brand, and I instantly recognize them. I remember those were one of my very favorite pairs of jeans in high school, because Mary-Kate and Ashley wore them on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, September 2003. I have the issue, and I tracked them down and bought them because I liked them so much. And Haley's wearing them in that scene, and I have them hanging in my closet. I have them. Speaking of Haley, there's a lot of relationship drama, obviously being a teen drama, but Haley and Nathan are clearly the stars when it comes to the romance in this whole show, this whole series. I mean, we end the season with the marriage, which like, I can't even, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. You can't help but like love it. But she's just so cute. She's such a cute character. I love her and Nathan together. Naily forever. Can we talk about the scene in the rain where they're like kissing and crying and declaring their love for each other? That is teen drama gold. I cannot wait for 8 more seasons of Naily. I actually really like all the characters on this show. It's one of those shows, obviously, that's like so bad it's good, but you can't help but like the characters. Next up, I want to talk about is Peyton. Peyton has a couple of moments that I really, really loved, but my favorite Peyton moment from the entire season 1 is when she just casually runs into Gavin DeGraw in her small town, because, you know, that's something that happens to high school students. And not only does she just casually run into him and like stroll up to him, start a conversation, but she asks him to sing at open mic night at Karen's Cafe, and he does it. He says yes. So we get a full-blown live performance of the show's theme song in the middle of the episode. So not only did we get to hear that during the opening credits, but we get to hear it again as a performance as part of the show. I mean, come on now. Way to go, Peyton. Way to make that happen. She's an interesting character because she's like the contradiction, right? You always have to have that one character in a teen drama that's like not really quite sure how they fit in. So she's like the artsy girl, but she's also a cheerleader, and she's like with the popular crowd. One other little tidbit that we have to talk about with Peyton is Peyton's dad. You guys, maybe I'm just old, but that's Terry Silver. Terry Silver as in from Cobra Kai on Netflix / Karate Kid 3. If you're old like me, you just had a light bulb moment. Speaking of actors on One Tree Hill who were in other shows that elder millennials like me remember, Mouth is Minkus from Boy Meets World. I didn't actually put that one together. I can't take credit for it. Somebody DM'd me that on Instagram, and when I say my jaw hit the floor, I was like, oh my God. And he's so recognizable. I can't believe I didn't put that together. I really like the whole storyline between Peyton and Jake, but you guys, I gotta say, when they introduced Jake and Jenny, his baby, I was like, all right, hold the phone. We have a high school student who has a baby, but no one knew about this until one day he just randomly shows up to basketball practice and is like, yeah, guys, like, I have a daughter. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be set in a small town. Let me tell you, as somebody from a small town, everybody knows everybody's business. There is no way that you could get away with having a baby in high school without everybody knowing it. And then nobody knows who the mother is. Like, is she from the next town over? What's the deal here? Ridiculous. But I will agree with what seems to be the general consensus that we all love Jake. Great character. Obviously, at the end of the first season, he leaves to go into hiding because he's hiding from his baby mama, as one does in high school. I assume that he comes back because they're really building the whole romance between him and Peyton. Speaking of the baby mama, Nikki, the baby mama of Jake's child, is a great villain. She's only in a couple of episodes towards the end of the season, but she's a great, great villain. She was a super fun character. And obviously, Nikki showing up and trying to re-enter Jenny's life is the reason that Jake has to run away and leave town. I'm not really sure how a high school student just takes their baby and leaves their parents' house to go to a different state, just like at random. Like, don't you have like finals or something. Like, I don't, again, teen drama on the CW from the 2000s. Not supposed to be realistic, but that one was a stretch. Love Peyton and Jake, or I love Peyton and Jake. I definitely was much more interested in Peyton and Jake than Peyton and Lucas. Okay, speaking of Lucas, we will get to the Scott brothers, obviously, because they're very important, but I want to take a moment to talk about the parents. I love how now, as I rewatch some of these older shows that were very much teen dramas, I recognize that they put a lot of effort into building storylines around the parents as well. I mentioned that I was watching Dawson's Creek. They did this with the parents in Dawson's Creek. I mean, the whole storyline between Dawson's mom and dad. They did this on the OC. I mean, there was a lot of crazy stuff with the parents on the OC, but it's funny because now I think I pay more attention to those storylines because I am now the age that the parents are supposed to be. So anyway, I want to talk about the parents for a second. Great whole like intertwined small town families drama with the parents and the older Scott brothers and, you know, Karen and Keith and Karen and Dan and Dan and Deb and like, and Deb and Keith. I mean, lots of drama there. Seems a little bit outlandish, but again, as someone from a small town, that all could and probably has happened in my town. There's just not that many people. Yeah. I buy it. But I love Karen and I love Keith. I mean, how much do we love Keith? The parent that really is the standout to me is Deb, because Deb goes through this whole transition in the first season from like total mom to total MILF just in one season. At the beginning of the season, she's in like high-necked sweaters and these like boring button-down shirts and has this sort of like Florence Henderson like flippy hairstyle and just looks very momish. By the end, they've got her in like these tiny halter tops. She's got low-rise jeans. We're seeing some skin, big hoops. She's got like a deep tan. There's that weird scene with the high school boy that she like buys at the boy toy auction and Dan walks in. That was very bizarre. But Deb clearly went through a transition season 1 and I cannot wait to see where we go with Deb in the remaining 8 seasons. As I was finishing the season, I was thinking about it and I really did the math in my head and realized that I am in fact supposed to be almost the exact same age as both Deb and Karen. They both had their sons, the younger Scott brothers, their freshman year of college. And if they're supposed to be, we'll say 17 years old, then that would make them almost my age because I graduated from high school 17 years ago. So that kind of ruined my life a little bit. If you're 35, congratulations, you're the same age as the parents on a teen drama. And when we were watching it in the original days when it was on, we were the kids' age, and now we're the parents' age. Anyway, we need to talk about Brooke because she's the best character on the show. Obsessed with Brooke. Her car. If I would have watched this show in high school, I would have begged, cried, pleaded, thrown myself on the floor in a tantrum, like begging for a baby blue bug convertible because that car is absolutely iconic. Most iconic outfit, hands down, is when she wore like basically lingerie to that weird dorm party where Peyton got drugged and she called Lucas. What was that outfit? It was so good. She wears a lot of denim on denim, a lot of like very low-rise jeans with a denim jacket and like a very tiny tank top. Again, one of those things where you think, is this very realistic? Doesn't their high school have a dress code? And then I think about the things that I wore to high school and I'm like, oh yeah, that checks out because I would have worn all of that and probably would have gotten away with it. Overall, Brooke is my favorite character on the show. I feel like I relate to her a lot. A lot of people told me that they thought I would really like her and like vibe with her. And at the beginning of the season, I was like, this might be concerning. I'm not sure if that's a compliment, but clearly she's gonna have a big transition as a character. We're already seeing it. She had some really genuine moments. I think one moment that was really sweet was when she had that night where she takes Mouth out for the night and they kind of had that little bonding moment at the end. That brings us to Lucas and Nathan, the true stars of the show, the younger Scott brothers. They are united because they're half brothers, but also because they love basketball. I don't really know which one I like better. Everybody keeps asking me if I'm team Lucas or team Nathan. I'm sure I'll decide one way or another eventually, but I really did appreciate at the end of this season when they kind of like bonded together against Dan and they sort of acknowledged each other as brothers. It's very cute. Clearly, the most important part of the male characters are their relationships to the female characters. Nathan's most interesting storyline to me is his relationship with Haley, and Lucas's most interesting storyline is obviously the love triangle between him, Brooke, and Peyton, who are best friends. Oh, this is the stuff that teen drama dreams were made up. I can't even imagine if I had to wait week to week to watch this in the 2000s, I would have been on the edge of my seat. But I was definitely Team Brooke when it came to the relationship with Lucas, possibly because I like Brooke better, but also maybe because I was really into the relationship between Peyton and Jake. And then obviously we stand Naylee forever. Another thing about Nathan that I thought was really funny was the fact that he has his own apartment. This seems like one of those storylines that's like very unrealistic, where you're like, oh, a high school kid that lives alone. But then I was thinking that in my high school, at least, there always was that kid that for some reason seemed to not live with their parents, and we totally used their apartment or their house or whatever as the party spot. So I don't know, I buy it. Nathan is clearly one of these characters that's already going through a character transformation. He's growing as a character. He is becoming a better person, blah, blah, blah. But really, I want to talk about the fact that in high school, at the end of season 1, Nathan and Haley get married. Okay, I knew this was gonna happen because this show is like 20 years old, so, you know, spoilers. But like, really? Come on. This is the cliffhanger on which they left season 1. So overall, season 1 gets an A+ from me, and I can't wait to start the second season. Join me again once I finish the second season in a matter of a few days, because I can't stop watching, and I will regale you with some more thoughts about season 2.